Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everyone, and welcome to this excitech webinar. So today, we're going to try and decipher the language of the wonderful Revit warnings with the Ideate Explorer. My name's Jonathan Hand, and I'm Technology Manager here at excitech. And one of the key things about excitech is all about our brand and all about partnerships that stand the test of time. So we're in partnership with the amazing guys at Ideate, and we're going to present some of their cool software today. So as I said, we're joined by the wonderful guys at Ideate, and I'm joined by Richard Taylor, who's going to do a cool technical presentation on the wonderful world of the Revit warning. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Richard, who will do the technical presentation.
Well, thank you, Jonathan. Very much appreciate the time, and thank you for having me today. My name is Richard Taylor with ID8 Software, and I'm the technical evangelist here at ID8 Software. And so we're here to talk about the language of Revit warnings. So a little bit of background, me very quickly, is my background is architecture. I have over 20 years of Revit experience. I was fortunate enough to be one of the original employees at Revit Technology back in the day. And then it was acquired by Autodesk, as everyone knows. And so I worked for Autodesk for about 12 years in various roles and was one of the product managers for Revit. And then I've been working for ID8 Software for about 5 years. You can always contact me for any additional questions. My email, my Twitter, my LinkedIn. I'm always happy to connect with people on LinkedIn. And I've got a Facebook account that is specifically business if you look at Richard Taylor ID8 Software, that should come up. So ID8 Software is all about simplifying your Revit challenges. And we create 5 add-on solutions to Revit. So we're really focused on the Revit experience. We create ID8 BIMlink, ID8 Explorer, ID8 Sticky, ID8 Apps, and ID8 Style Manager. And so we've been doing a series of webinars with excitech over the last few months where we're highlighting different workflows. And today we're going to be concentrating on that second item that you see there on the screen, ID8 Explorer, and specifically how ID8 Explorer can help you manage and understand and fix your Revit warnings. So a little bit about ID8 Software very quickly. I mean, we're known for our excellent support. We have both in-product support, meaning that, from the dialogue, you can have help and information, but we also have extensive online help, educational videos, webinars such as this with both hosted by ID8 Software, as well as our partners around the world, such as excitech. We have the built-in Getting Started guides. One thing that's unique about us is that we are supporting on the last 4 releases of Revit. So everything you see today, we just released ID8 Explorer in May of 2020 to be compatible with Revit 2021, but we also updated on Revit 2020, 2019, and 2018. So all of the latest and greatest features are available for the last 4 releases. And then we do testing on large projects all around the world. Like many of you, we are also working remote. And so we're using Autodesk BIM 360. Most of our solutions are compatible with BIM 360. And so we're doing a lot of work around that to make sure that our solutions fit our customers' needs in this sort of new way of working in this remote working situation. All right, so our agenda today, if you're not familiar with ID8 Explorer, I thought I'd give you kind of a quick little overview of the application. And then I'd like to introduce you to the warnings tab. So specifically, we're going to be focusing on how to manage and fix warnings today and talk a little bit about the user interface and then give you some examples of warnings. And I'm going to talk more about this, but we've kind of categorized warnings into 3 main buckets of geometric warnings, common warnings, and calculated warnings. And there's a lot that I could be saying about warnings as far as, the recommendations from Autodesk and why you should be taking specific care in reviewing and fixing these warnings. And it's always hard, even from Autodesk, to get a specific answer of like, well, what is the most important warning that you should be reviewing? Or, this one is absolutely you need to like fix these, whereas the other ones might be able to, let's say, be minor or have a lower priority ranking. And so what we've come to the conclusion, kind of working through with Autodesk, is that a lot of these calculated and geometric warnings are probably the most difficult because Revit's trying to calculate something in the background and it can't do that. And so that can really impact the performance of the Revit model. Of course, other things like duplicate instances and identical types and so forth, that can really mess with the construction documentation as far as proper quantity counts, errors in the field, and those kinds of things. So they're very important. I mean, all warnings are important, but there are probably others, or there's probably a ranking system that you want to go through to make sure that you're reviewing and highlighting the most important warnings first. And I'm going to talk about that. Okay, so Ideate Explorer is all about auditing and understanding your Revit model. And it is a model browser as opposed to a project browser. So what do I mean by that? Well, the project browser shows me items that could potentially be in my Revit project, right? So if I load 100 families, they're shown in the project browser, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I've used all 100 families in my project, right? That I don't have any maybe instances of the families. So Ideate Explorer is going to show me every single element within the Revit project. And it's going to show me so much more than the project browser. And I'll show you some examples of that. And not only that it shows every element, and we can typically sort by category, family, and type, but I can drill down to any particular parameter. So for instance, I'm just showing on the screen here an air terminal. You can see that there's a number after it. I have 337 air terminals in this project. I can drill down and look at the flow as well as the number or the count of how many air terminals that I have. So like I said, any particular parameter I can search on. Actually, I can search on 3 and mix and match sort of those 3 parameters at the same time. So I could search for flow, I could search for maximum flow, minimum flow, and maybe actual exhaust airflow or something as an example. And what we're here today is to talk about warnings. So a few years ago, we introduced a new tab within the interface for reviewing and understanding Revit warnings. And I think it's important to sort of talk a little bit about Ideate Explorer and how it works, because the paradigm, we've sort of applied it to warnings. And I think hopefully that will make sense when I get into the actual sort of demonstration of the product. But it allows us to review the warnings, rank them, as I was talking earlier, whether a warning is high, medium, or low, or do I want to temporarily just not show that particular warning, right? And it allows me to interact and fix the warning right from the dialog, or when the dialog is open, I should say. So let's take a quick look. I'm going to switch over here to Revit. And today I am using Revit 2021, the last release from Autodesk. But again, we are supporting on the last 4 releases of Revit. So what I want to do is, oh, good. My WebEx screen was conflicting with my menu system, but now that automatically hid. So I apologize for belaboring the point there. So under Revit, you have different menu systems, obviously, right? Here's the architecture, there's the structure, systems, as you see. If you've installed any of the ID8 software solutions, you'll have the ID8 software ribbon panel, and you'll see all of our solutions available here. And so, like I said, today we're going to be focusing on ID8 Explorer. So I'm going to start ID8 Explorer. And by default, when Explorer starts, it's going to look at elements within the active view. So real quickly, you can say, all right, the display is the active view. And right now at the very top here, we've got 4,703 elements in this view called 3D Audit. But the display, I can switch this over here to a selection of elements or my entire project. So I'm going to select the entire project. And now I'm now looking at 36,000 and 66 elements in this project that I've called the conference center. And notice that I can sort by category, level, phase, room. I'm going to keep it on category for right now. And you can then look and review all the information of elements. And as I said, it's going to show you elements that don't necessarily or aren't shown within the project browser. Here's a good one, CAD imports, right? So I have 173 AutoCAD files that I've actually either linked in or imported in some way. And in this case, I've got two instances, if I expand this a little bit, of this door detail. When I double click, it opens up the view of that door detail, and you can see it's actually called A8-1 door details. The second one, if I double click, it tells me, hey, it's hidden in this view, which is kind of strange, but I'm going to go ahead and open up the view. It will automatically turn on reveal hidden elements and show me where that CAD file is. And I see that, okay, this is a site plan. Why are our door details in the site plan view? That is obviously a mistake. So what I can do is remove that right here, CAD imports, delete directly from the dialog. And then I can just go back to Revit here and say, turn off reveal or the reveal hidden elements, do a fit. And I know that site plan is fine, or it does not have any CAD linked in or imported CAD details, right? And then I also wanted to show you again, the reason this is important is we're going to be using these same display, sort by, filter, search tools when it comes to warnings. So in this case, if I come over here to level, I can switch and say, well, you know what? Here's the top of footing level. Oh, there's a door on the top of footing level. That is wrong, obviously. Let's double click to find out where that is, single click to select it, and then I can use tools within Revit, such as the selection box, to say, oh, here's the information, you know, about that door. I can review it, realize that obviously this door is extending beyond the wall, and it should not have been level top of footing level. It should actually be level 1 or the first floor. So I can make that change, basically fix that, and now it has been recategorized. It is no longer on the top of footing level. So then I can switch that back to, let's say, category. And then I'm going to come over here and switch back the view to the full view here. So let's go ahead and say zoom to fit. Okay, now you'll also notice down below, everything I've been doing so far is this explore. We also have a navigate that allows you, very similar to the project browser, to navigate to views or sheets. In this case, I want to navigate to a view that's on a sheet, maybe a floor plan, some enlarged toilet plans. And so I can just quickly double click to open that, right click, and open the sheet that contains that view, right? So that's a quick spin on Ideate Explorer. But it's important to know how Ideate Explorer works because, as I said, now when I switch over to my Warnings tab, you will see that there are, the display is warnings at the top here. I can sort by the types of warnings I have or individual elements, right? So I can see all the elements and I can look at the number of warnings that they have on that particular element. Many times I do like looking at the individual warning types, which is nice. And then I can filter on high ranked, medium, low. So if I only want to see high ranked warnings, I can review that. Now, once I have a particular warning, like this highlighted floors overlap, I'm going to expand this and look at these two elements here. And at the same time, like I said, you can use any Revit command. If we come over here to the Manage tab in Revit, and we go over to Manage Warnings here, I can bring up the Warnings dialog. And you'll notice, first off, that the Warnings dialog is not resizable. So I can't, you know, grab it and resize things very easily. Or I should say at all. I guess that makes it very easily. And you'll notice that there, you know, you can kind of, it's sort of hard to see, you know, these elements, you know, highlighted walls overlap, you know, I can see these particular warnings. Let's see that if I come back over here to, which, let's see, yeah, it's even hard to, like I said, to find the one I'm looking for in this particular. Oh, here it is. Highlighted floors overlap. Okay, so in this case, here are the same. I'm looking sort of at the same information. All I can do from this dialog is delete it. I don't even know what it is. I can't really sort of manipulate it or review information. I can just sort of select it, zoom to it, or delete it. That's it. So again, it's not very flexible. Whereas here, I can, of course, double click to zoom and review it, which, in this particular view, it may be difficult to see. So I'm going to do a control. I'm going to select on both of those floors because they overlap. I'm going to use the little Revit command that we all love called isolate elements. So now I can look at those two floors in the temporary hide isolate mode. And when I do that, you'll notice that, oh, well, that's pretty apparent that there's an overlap there, right? So I just click on it, and I'm going to use the commands in Revit to be able to edit the boundary and fix that. So I'm going to come over here and just bring it back so it's not conflicting anymore, right? And say, okay. And I'm not going to attach. And notice what happens is it goes away, that particular warning, because I have fixed it. And so I'm going to reset my temporary hide isolate and do a right click and zoom to fit and go back to my full view. And then I'm going to switch back my filter to say none, meaning that show me all. So right now I have one high ranked warning. I have 3 that are yellow or medium, and number of them that are green or low ranked warnings. And for instance, like I said, the line sketch is slightly off axis. That's a very common warning that sometimes is not necessarily even a warning, right? Meaning that you may have a site plan where it varies by several millimeters over a distance of quite a few meters. And that's actually okay, but Revit's telling you about it, that it's slightly off axis. I can go over here and I can say, hide that warning. I don't want to see it, right? And so now when I hide that warning, it's not shown in my warning count. I can always go to my filter and look at my hidden warnings that I've done. And you can see that I've got that 96 line sketches slightly off axis. So that's another nice way that I can sort of manipulate and review this information. All right, I want to go back. So that's our quick spin, right? Just going to give you an introduction to the interface and how you can review and fix warnings. But, we give you a lot more power than just that as far as being able to sort of identify how to rank these particular warnings and how to manage your warnings. So you'll notice that over here to the right, if you can see my cursor where it says display, there are 2 alert icons. There are 2 red icons. And one signifies that I have high ranked warnings within my project. The other one says that I'm over my warnings threshold. So when I go to the settings, you'll see that I'm able to set that my warnings threshold. So again, what we were just reviewing there, I just kind of wanted to show you is that we're using the same paradigm or same dialogue that we used in Ideate Explorer to look at the display, to be able to sort by, whether it's type or element, to be able to filter by the type, whether it's a high, medium, low, or hidden. And then you can also search for an element or a series of elements in the search dialog there. And again, this is going to show you these 2 alert icons, whether you've got high ranked warnings or over your threshold. And then we're also giving you information about the element that you've selected. So we're giving you who created it, who last updated it, and some information that is not, let's say, readily apparent without going to the properties palette within Revit. So that's kind of nice. So like I said, when you click on the little cog wheel, that's the settings menu. The settings menu allows you to decide first of all, where is the file that it's going to read for the rankings and the metric settings. So this can be on, let's say, BIM 360 via the desktop connector. It could be located in a centralized location that everyone has access to. And so that everyone is looking at the same settings and rankings file. Now, this kind of gets back to what I said earlier about Autodesk and which Revit warnings are the most important. So what we've done is we give you a sample ranking file that ranks about 60 warnings from Autodesk in what we think are high, medium, and low warnings based on some of the research that we've done. But it's not an exact science. This is where it comes down to sometimes if you're doing, for instance, documentation in Revit, you may have a higher priority on certain warnings as opposed to if you're doing modeling, right? Or if you're doing MEP design or engineering, you may have a higher ranked warning when it comes to calculated type of warnings. So it really is sort of dependent on your particular needs and your workflows, right? So we supply a file, a default file that is ranking. However, Autodesk actually defines 915 possible warnings. And we do have another file that is delivered with Ideate Explorer that does show all 915 possible warnings, but we have not ranked them. So like I said, we've only ranked about 50 or 60. So this is a good place to start if you wanted to load that file that has all 915, and then you could start to say, all right, these are important to me, these are less important, these are medium important, and so forth. So again, just to let you know that there's a number of different delivered ranking files. And then when it comes to warnings, this is what I talked about earlier, is we've organized this, and even in our help topics, we've put these into different buckets. And what we've said is there are what we feel are common Revit warnings, things like identical instances, duplicate marks, duplicate type marks they're important, and they typically come up quite a bit. But some of them, like for instance, duplicate mark and duplicate type mark, can be ignored to some degree. Now, I've seen on LinkedIn and other Twitter, someone was saying that they had 53,000 duplicate type marks. Well, that's an issue if you've got 53,000 of them, and that could definitely impact the performance of your model. But if you've got, let's say, a handful of those, it may not be the most critical warning. But then we move to calculated warnings, right? Where Revit is trying to calculate something, and that definitely can impact the performance of the Revit model. The same way with geometric warnings, where things are potentially not attached, or there's joining geometry, or like you said, or I showed earlier, where the floors overlap. That could definitely be something that you might want to rank as a high ranked warning. So identical instances. Again, this is a real problem because it can have incorrect schedule data. You can have model inaccuracy, potential errors in the field, if something gets duplicated on top of another element. So let's go ahead and review that. I'm going to switch back over here to Revit. And you'll notice that I do have this as one of my high ranked warnings, right? That there are identical instances. Now, if I expand this, there are 75 of these, right? And I can go through and basically say, oh, which two elements? I've got a number of, looks like mullions. And if I go down here, I've got, these are all mullions. Oops, let's see if I've got, I think there's also some furniture as well and mixed in here as well. But most of these that I'm grabbing on are all mullion instances. But what we've done is we've made it very easy to be able to select on the top level type warning, right? Because I've got this set to types. And I can right click and I can say retain originals or retain latest. And what it does is it looks at the Revit element ID to know which one is a higher element ID, obviously is the one that was duplicated or copied. So if I say, you know what, I copied these by mistake, I really want to retain my originals, it will automatically build a selection set. And it says, oh, you know what, you're going to delete 64 curtain wall mullions and 11 pieces of furniture. And I can go over here and hit delete. But before I do that, if I want to just close out of this, they're still selected, right? So I can switch back to the Explore tab. Instead of the entire project, I can say, look at my current selection. Here are 64 curtain wall mullions and 11 pieces of furniture. And oh, I've got 10 chairs that are stacking, right? And I've got one table that has been duplicated. Well, where is that? Well, there's that table. Again, I can use my selection box if I want to look at that information and say, oh, well, here's all the information. And in fact, this was the table, looks like that got duplicated on top of one another. Okay, you know what? That is definitely an error. And I can go over and say, you know what? I do want to remove that again. So now I'm going to delete 64 curtain wall mullions and 11 pieces of furniture. And so now when I do that, I can switch this back to the entire project. I can go back to my warnings and I have no high ranked warnings. You'll also notice one of the alert icons has been removed because I now have no high ranked warnings within this project. Right now I have 72 warnings that I'm looking at. Remember, we hid some. So I'm going to go to my little cog here and I'm going to go to my management. And you'll notice that I've allowed 100 warnings per 100 megabyte file, which means based on those calculations, I should have my threshold is 48. So I'm above my threshold of 48. Now, just to show you how this works, if I switch this to 200 warnings per 100 megabyte file, right? And I'll just show you this is that file that I'm looking at. I can then go and say close, save changes. And notice that now I'm under that threshold and the other alert icon is no longer displayed. So now I've got rid of both of my alert icons because I'm below my threshold and I have no longer high ranked warnings. Also to switch these, even though it's reading from the file, if I decide that a tag outside of its region is not a medium warning, I can always right click, set the ranking and say, well, you know what? I want that to be a low ranked warning. And that's going to change it to a low. And then if I hit this little refresh button, it's going to then, recategorize basically, right? So it's going to have the medium warnings on the top, and then it's going to go to the low, and then to the warnings, or this particular one has no warning. Okay. So another, as I said, real quickly so about ready to finish up here, duplicate marks. That is something that is important because for Kobe, if you are using Kobe, you can't have duplicate values. It's going to be confusing for your estimating and construction. So in this particular case, what I can do is, again, highlight. I've got a little video here that's going to show me that the warnings, I've got all of these elements, which are structural elements that have a duplicate type mark. And so right now I have several hundred of these, right? I can highlight on all of them. I have 288 of them. And I can just say, for the time being, let's just clear out the mark. So there's no mark value at all. And then that will clear that particular warning, right? And then I can go back and start to identify the mark and have a unique mark value. One thing that is, since I'm doing this sort of one by one, it might be easier to use another solution that we have called Ideate BIM-Link to extract information from the Revit model and then be able to update that mark value so you're not having the duplicate marks. So again, just another quick way to be able to review that. And then finally, I just wanted to show that here's another potential problem where there's a calculation, like in an MEP file, where there's no loss defined. So it's trying to calculate something. And again, if we go to the warnings, it's going to say that, all right, one of those calculated warnings is no loss defined. And I can then highlight on the item like a 45-degree elbow and say that, all right, I want to change the loss method. Right now, it's a coefficient from an ASHRAE table, and it's not being able to read the information from ASHRAE. So what I'm going to do is just fix that by identifying that coefficient specifically. So typing in a value, right? So you see there the coefficient from ASHRAE. It's not able to be read correctly, right? No ASHRAE table is defined. So I'm just going to change that to a coefficient. and then therefore fixing that particular warning. So the whole idea here is I'm working interactively in Revit. I'm able to review and fix these warnings. So if you're not familiar with Ideate Explorer, you can download a 14-day full functioning trial version of Ideate Explorer from our website. And so you can go there and you can actually download the executable that will work on the last 4 releases of Revit. So I would encourage you to do that. If you're already an Ideate Explorer customer, there's a lot of help videos and information also on our website. So what I would like to do is switch it back to Jonathan at this point and wrap up and see if there are any questions.
Thank you very much. I'm hopefully sharing my screen. So just before we get to the questions, thank you very much, Richard. That was amazing. Hopefully everyone found that informative and really useful. Just to let you know, we are running these monthly. So next month, we're going to look at what's new in ID8 Sticky. That is on August 27th. We will be putting out the communications and creating the event in the next couple of weeks. So hopefully you can all grab that one. If you want to find out more, you can get myself and Richard on all the various social platforms. But more importantly, if you're really interested in getting the trial, getting this on your systems, just reach out to your excitech account manager, and you can email info@excitech, give us a call, or just contact us by whatever means you can, and we'll be happy to help. So yeah, I'll finish up. Thank you everyone for joining us. Stay safe out there, and don't forget to join us next month. Thank you again, Richard. Awesome as usual.
All right. Thank you very much. Yeah, next month we're going to be doing ID8 Sticky, so it should be very exciting.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, guys.
Have a good day.
Goodbye.